I like to present this slideshow, which I'll turn into a movie later, but it has to do with our township, with the audit and financial statements they're responsible for. And this first section here, I'm showing you a letter I received from Exeter Township in response to my right to know request for audited information. Now, this is the official letter. I'm going to copy this and put it in a format so that I can edit it and show you, point out the specific issues that I have with this letter from the township. And here you can see it. Again, is my right to know request. It's a little larger. Hopefully you can read it better. And I'm going to show you about 14 different things that are concerns of mine. The first thing I want to point out is I'm requesting the audit by Maillie. That's for the ended year 2020 with all accompanied documents and notes. And of course, Exeter Township immediately denied my request. They do this quite often. But let's look at what they're saying. They're saying that the statutory audit, which is required by Section 904, has been completed by Maillie, the township auditor. So now they're claiming that the statutory audit has been completed by Maillie, but this is not true. I'm going to show you why it's not accurate. In fact, it's totally, completely misleading, and you can't infer this if you understand Section 904 and Section 917. And the actual law. This is not the statutory audit that they're trying to make us believe is the fact. But again, this is their interpretation. So their interpretation of things, I think, is quite off. It's interpreted in their sense to mislead us. And they're actually lying to the community when they do this. So this is their interpretation. They could have called me and asked me if they're what I meant, but you could call it whatever you want. They call it CAFR. We do not have a comprehensive annual financial report completed. It's something different, but call it whatever you want. But 904 requires us to have an audit completed by March 31st, and they didn't do that. So what you're going to see in a few more minutes is Section 904, the next slide showing the requirements, and Section 917 requirements, which I cut out so that we didn't show the whole 904 statute because it's rather large and I don't want people to be confused by it. We'll see that soon. So now they're claiming that the pending audit must be approved by DCED, okay? And I'm going to prove to you that without a doubt that this supposed pending audit that they claim is the DCED report is absolutely false and misleading, that they're lying to the public, they're lying to me, and they will continue to do so because they're trying to cover up the fact that they haven't met the requirements. Even though our township manager, all $120,000 a year of him, has insisted that we are compliant with Section 904. And when I'm completed with this presentation and you hear what I have to say and what I'm going to show you, I'd like to hear back from you. Do you think we're compliant? Do you think the township supervisors are lying to us? I think so, but you tell me what you think. So here they say that when it's approved by DCED that we can then see it, and that it's a statutory Section 904 audit. Once again, they say this. So don't believe any of it. And what you see in that big circle right there is more noise. It's not even worth reading it. It's meant to confuse you. It's meant to confuse me. And it's nonsense. Okay? And you'll see this when I present to you a copy of the 2019 audit letter from Maillie. There's no reference to CAFR. And it doesn't matter. 904A requires us to have an audit, and I'll go further into detail on that in our next slide, where I'll present to you Section 904, the relevant sections, and I'll also show you Section 917. So let's move ahead. And here they are. First of all, Section 904, you can see that, just look at A. Just concentrate on A. It's very simple. And you see the Board of Auditors. When you see the Board of Auditors, replace Maillie in that. Because I'll show you also that in Section 917 that the Board of Supervisors are allowed to replace the Board of Auditors with a contract with the CPA or a CPA firm. And that's what we do every year. But you can also see that replace Maillie in there, and it says Maillie shall complete their audit, settlement, and adjustment before the first day of April of each year. So they're trying to put this hoax on us that they've met this requirement, but they haven't. The real audit is not complete. And they're trying to convince us that the statutory audit is the DCED report. And we know full well it's not, and I'm going to show you why it's not. I'm going to tie this all together. Now, we look at number 2 here, and it reiterates everything, okay? This is the report of the affairs of the township. And it says, filed not later than 90 days after the close of the fiscal year. That's March 31st. So now they've told us twice. At the beginning of Section 904, the audit must be completed before April 1st. And I have a little 2A in there, which you'll see is my note, the DCED special report. It's not the audit itself. And I'll explain this as we go further into this, but the report is a supplemental report derived from the final audit, and this report is required by Pennsylvania law and is formatted by DCED. It's set up so that they can derive out of our financial audited statements economic information that they use to approve grants to all the different municipalities. Now, number 3 is also very important. It says the audit notice published in the Reading Eagle and approved by auditors and consistent with the audited financial statements. Now, this is a great section, Section E of 904. They tell us that on or before the 15th day of April of each year, they have to publish this information in the newspaper. All right? And it has to be prepared or approved by the auditors. And it has to be consistent with the audited financial statements. So think about this. The audited financial statements were supposed to be completed before the 1st of April. The information that they take from that is supposed to be published in the newspaper from our audited financial statements. This is what it says. Prepared by the auditors, consistent with the audited financial statements, which we do not have. Not consistent with DCED's report, but with our audited financial statements. Very important point that our supervisors, our township manager, our finance director, and our CPA firm neglected to notice. Now, in number 4, it talks about the auditor's report. And it also says that once it's completed by April 15th, they have to put this report, copies of it, financial statements, and the auditor's report in a public place where we can view it. Well, April 15th is come and gone, and all they can show us is a draft of a DCED report. But when they mention the auditor's report, this is the auditor's opinion, where he talks about the fact that the township provides them with financial statements which are supposed to be in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles, and that the auditor who's contracted by Exeter will perform a testing of those financial statements using acceptable auditing procedures. And then they will issue a report, which is their opinion on deciding if the financial statements do represent accurately our financial position. And that's the auditor's report. Number 5, I want to point this out because it requires that the CPA is registered in the Commonwealth. It's qualified. Shall be registered in this Commonwealth. And you'll see when I show you the last page example of the 2019 originally submitted DCED report, you'll see I'll point out and talk about who originally signed it. It's not pretty. Now here, this is a very important section of section 917, okay? 917C. And here is one of the most important statements. The audit shall be made in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. Super, super important. I want you to remember this as we continue on in this presentation. Let me read it again. Audit shall be made in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. And those standards require the auditor to examine the financial information that is provided by the township. And they claim the township must provide this using generally accepted accounting principles. And then the auditors use generally accepted auditing standards to evaluate those financial statements and express an opinion on those financial statements. I want to read this again to you because I want you to remember this. This is very important as we go forward. Audit shall be made in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. And I'm going to wait a moment. I want you to just read that to yourself one time, and then we'll go on with the presentation. Okay, so now here is a actual screenshot of the last page of the DCED report that was originally submitted to DCED in 2019. I'm sorry, 2020 for the year 2019. Now, I've copied this in the next slide, which I'll go over in more detail, but I just wanted to put that there because I wanted you to see who signed this. Jennifer Savage, our finance director, signed this. But she decided she was going to use the title controller. We do not have a controller in Exeter Township as far as I know. They may be hiding it from us, but I've never seen the title. And you can see she subscribed and sworn to this before on April 29th, 2020. And we'll go over this whole thing, and I'll show you why when Jennifer Savage signed this, and when she submitted it to DCED, and when she sent copies to the public, she committed fraud. Because certainly she is not a controller. She is not registered with the Commonwealth to be able to express an opinion on financial statements. She's not trained to do this. So we have a fraud situation here. Now here it is again. Here's that last page that we were just looking at. And you can see there's the DCED, Secretary of the Department of Community and Economic Development. But you can also see that this goes to the governing body of the municipality, which is Exeter, and the President Judge of the Court of Common Pleas. So we need to check with the President, find out if he's got a copy of this DCED report. But what I want you to what I want to point out, and I'd like you to focus on, is here's part of that report, the last page, made in accordance with law rather than with generally accepted auditing standards. See, remember what we went over just a little while ago? I pointed out to you that Section 917 requires our audit to be in compliance with generally accepted auditing standards. But this is a disclaimer on the DCED report. It does not have to be made and should not be made with generally accepted auditing standards, but according to law. And that law is for the benefit of the Department of Community and Economic Development, DCED. And the reason why it's different is because they're asking us to provide audited information in a format report that they require. This is not uncommon. The American Institute of Certified Public Accountants have rules on how this is supposed to happen and requires these types of statements to verify that it's not an audited document. So there it is, made in accordance with law rather than with generally accepted auditing standards. I mean, bingo, right there it is. They're claiming the DCED report is our audit statutory audit report? No way. No way. Lying to us, clearly. And to further to look at this, these are all disclaimers required by the AICPA. So this is not an audited financial document, nor is it intended to be our annual audit, which is required in 904A. And that audit must be in compliance with generally accepted auditing standards. But here it's very clear. I have it highlighted and underlined. Accordingly, the accompanying financial statements are not intended to present the financial position and results of operations of this municipality in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. These financial statements do not include all of the disclosures required by generally accepted accounting principles. So you have two areas, the generally accepted accounting principles and the generally accepted auditing standards. This is not an statutory audit. This is a statutory report in the format that DCED requires. Does everybody get that? If it's confusing, I want you to contact me. I will personally go over this with you. Okay? Please contact me. It's very important that you understand what the township is trying to pull off here. They are actually lying to every single one of us. And they double down. Will Rogers said, when you know you're digging yourself a hole, stop digging. But these guys keep digging. So let's go on. Final item I want to show you here. Okay. Clearly, this is a supplemental report derived from the audited financial statements and adjusted to meet DCED's legal requirements in accordance with law, not in accordance with generally accepted accounting standards and not in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. And as I pointed out earlier in this presentation, the law in Section 917 requires that the audit be done using generally accepted auditing standards. And in 904A, it's very clear Maillie is supposed to perform this audit. So here is a screenshot of Maillie's independent auditor's report for 2019. I'm not going to dwell on this too long because it's going to just show you what I've been talking about all along. Number one, states clearly, management, that's our township, is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. Okay? Made it very clear. And what did the DCED report say? That report is not presented using generally accounting principles generally accepted in the United States. And then we can look at number 2, the auditor's responsibility. This is great. It just pulls it all together. The auditor's responsibility. Their responsibility is to express an opinion on these financial statements based on their audit, which has not been completed. They're late on that. They haven't conformed with 904. We conducted our audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America. And what did DCED final page say? That information was not presented in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States. It's not a statutory audit, it's a statutory report. And those standards require them to plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. So the supervisors are lying to us. We now know that. And now they're trying to claim that this CAFR, this comprehensive accounting financial report, is a non-statutory report. Not true. I don't know who they're kidding. In fact, you see the auditor's report. There's nothing in there that suggests that this is a CFR. That's not stated in there anywhere. This is a regular audit report for our financial statements, which is required by Section 904, subsection A. So take a look at this, read this at your leisure, and compare it to everything that our township is claiming they're doing. They're lying right to our faces, and I think they're laughing at us. They think we're fools. But I know that everyone out there is a lot smarter than they think we are. And I don't know how long we're going to put up with this crap. So I have a couple notes. And I think it's clear that they've attempted to mislead the public. And you can look at the information that I presented on item number 6 on page 3. It states very clearly the CPA is to complete the audit using generally accepted auditing principles. And this is in order to express an opinion on the financial statements. And that opinion is referenced in number 4 on page 3 as well, the auditor's report. But look at the Board of Supervisors, our township manager, our finance director. They claim the DCED is a statutory audit required by Section 904 and that it's been completed by Maillie. They even tell us we have to wait until DCED approves this audit. The township auditors waiting for that approval, and we have to wait. But DCED does not approve our audits. What they do is approve that they've received the information in the format that they require by law. You can't get around the fact that an audit is required to be completed within 90 days, and it's clear they haven't done that because the DCED report is clearly not an audit. The audit must be done under generally accepted auditing standards. Now, Maillie is contracted to perform this annual audit, and they're just always late again. But we do have the opportunity to file a summary offense, which is a criminal complaint against Maillie, against our township manager, and our finance director for missing these deadlines. And Section 905 of the Title IX tells us we could do that. Unfortunately, and we might be able to get the supervisors held in contempt too, because they should all have been aware of this. They're pretending to be leaders of our community, but they're not putting any effort into it. So I hope that I've made this clear enough that you can see how everything they're saying is contradicted by the facts, the support. Our township manager likes to say that there's a lot of rumors going on out there that, are not based on fact. Well, if you know me, I always provide the facts before I go into something like this. So use your own senses, common sense, and I think you'll come to the conclusion that I have, that they're lying to us. I'd love to hear your input. Again, if you have any problems understanding any of this, please contact me. I'll be more than happy to explain it until it's clear. Thank you for listening to me.